Hey my friends, here is a video, a review of the Elder Stories Tarot by Hand Me That Pencil, and I will be sure to leave their information below. So this is a new-ish deck that comes from an artist from New Zealand, and you can find them on Instagram at Hand Me That Pencil and on their website. And then this deck is available on Etsy. So the interesting thing about, and the smart thing about this deck is that it came to me packaged, and this is in the Etsy shop, you can see, as 2 business letter envelopes with the cards stacked in threes. Or in 3 stacks, which I'll try to remember to insert a picture of here, which dramatically reduces the shipping cost. So it doesn't come with a bag or a box or anything, although the creator does have some custom pouches that you can buy through a custom printing site for not much, 20-ish, 17-ish bucks, I think, US. There is a digital guidebook that you can download from their page, and it's called the Elder Stories deck, so it centers and celebrates, people who are elders, people who have lived a little, people who have been around the block. And in many ways, it's the only deck I know that does this. I've never seen a deck that centers people, sort of over the age of sort of fantasy 20, this is definitely folks who I would say are, 60 plus, more or less. The interesting thing is that, like, it's so hard to know someone's age. And it's a funny thing, lately people keep asking me how old I am, and I'm like, oh, I'm this age. And they're like, oh, you don't look that age. And I'm like, but what does that mean? Like, what does that age look like? I don't know. I look like the way I look. I feel like I look my age. Anyway. And it's a modern deck. It's a fun deck. And so what prompted me getting this was my recent video about modern decks and seeing this on Indie Deck Review at, like, literally the same moment. And I didn't really know what it was. I just saw it and grabbed it and, waited for it. So it's coming from New Zealand. If you're in the US, it's going to take a while. This probably took about a month and a half or so, even with the business envelope shipping. Really, really nice cardstock. I really love this gorgeous lush backs. I would say throughout the whole deck, the color is just rich and deep and fun. And pop arty, in a good way. It's Waite Smith, but there's some interesting takes. There's some that I like more than others. That's inevitable. I'll point out the ones that I'm not as wild about. But I think that it's a real success, and certainly something that I think a lot of people should cheer for in many ways. So let's, yeah, the cardstock's great. It's matte. I haven't shuffled this yet. That's the one thing I'll say. I've looked at it. I've read through the guidebook. I have not shuffled it yet. It's thick, so I'm not sure how I'll be able to shuffle it. The guidebook is just a little intro to, hey, I wanted to see a deck where people had, been elders, that was not just young people. And tarot publishing certainly centers youth, and more and more thinness, etc. So let's take a look. I'm just trying to think if I have anything more just to say. I don't really. So here's the Fool, and then the Magician. I really love this clean font that they chose. I'm using they because I hadn't seen the creator's name. I just know them as Hand Me That Pencil. So can I find it on Instagram? Does it say? I think their account just says Hand Me That Pencil. So I'm trying not to accidentally misgender. I'm just looking. Hand Me That Pencil. Doesn't say. I know. Here's the Magician. So this was a card I didn't love initially as the High Priestess, but it kind of grew on me. I think that idea of weaving the moon is really just a beautiful idea. So, like, initially I was like, oh, I don't know. And this is my problem always with modern decks, right? It's like, oh, I don't know. And then I'm like, oh, that's cool. I love this Empress. Like, this I'm living for. In every way. I can't say enough cool things about this Empress. And the Emperor. You know what I mean? So the sort of gender presentation swap for these two cards. And can we just talk about an Emperor who isn't like a warlord? I know the association is Aries, whatever, Golden Dawn. I like the Emperor as much as the Empress because we need that as much as we like they complement each other. And so I love this. The Hierophant. This is another one where I kind of don't sort of necessarily see Hierophant per se. I don't have any issue with the card. It just doesn't I mean, there's some symbols that you can sort of see connected to Waitsmith, for sure. Even just the little, like, mouse and puppy, I think that's a puppy, at the feet, you know. It just doesn't seem, it reads, like, academic in a way. But, again, it's nicely done. It's Lover's card. I love her hair. The Chariot. Strength. The Hermit. This I know is one of the ones that you can get as a bag, a pouch, on their website, on the creator's website. Yeah, I really like that. This Wheel of Fortune was another one I kind of don't super get. Other than it's sort of like it's like an amusement ride, I think. It's sort of like a water slide. I don't know, like, it seems fun. I don't... It says ebb and flow on it. So, I mean, it makes sense. It's like, I traditionally don't like Wheels of Fortune anyway, so take a chance when you're a deck creator. Justice, I love this Justice card. It definitely serves balance over justice. Obviously, but it's still kind of dope. The Hanged one. Again, you know, I like a hanged man that's a little more about consequences, but, you know, a chrysalis, a sort of cocoon turning into a butterfly, feels a little more death for me, but it's not I guess, you know, when it's things like this, like the bat in the Wild Unknown, etc., like when they're supposed to be hanging upside down, to me it kind of defeats the purpose. But again, lovely. This is another one where I'm like, okay, you know, cool, I get it. In the intro, the creator says, you know, what would death look like when you're 666 years old? It's going to look a lot better than when you're in your 20s, and that makes total sense to me. Again, I have a little more kind of finite sense of the death as a metaphor, but again, you know, it's cool. Temperance. Love this devil. For me, like, right on. Sorry, I just yawned. It's like, it's suddenly October and it's like gray and rainy out, and like, I'm tired all the time. So, and I'm like, now my throat's dry. Yeah, I love this devil. The Tower is another one I'm not wild. Like, again, it's like in the guidebook, they sort of explain this kid sort of was pouring fire on the grass, you know, and the elder came out and, like, telling them the tea. So, yes. Is it the Tower for me? No. But, you know, like, a cool interpretation. I love this star. This I'm here for. I love this moon. The sun is very cool. I also, again, like, sort of fat bodies in a deck. You know what I mean? Not that, like, it's just a thing you don't see a lot of. You know? And, like, to celebrate bodies, to celebrate our bodies in all their forms and ages, I think is lovely. So here's the chrysalis of the Hanged One opening up, which is cool. Again, it's not a relationship that I see in tarot, but I think, again, very cool, very thoughtful, very interesting in a good way. And here's the universe. And so now we get into the suits. So we have the Ace of Wands, the Two of Wands, the 3, the 4. I love this person just kind of hanging out in their cool suit in the backyard with what looks like spotlights on them. Like, it's just kind of rad. The 5 of Wands. This is, again, another one that I find interesting. It doesn't immediately grip me in this template, the Waitsmith template, as the 5 of Wands, but these two motherfuckers are at each other's throats. And they're all sort of getting in line to woo Miss Candy here. I just named her that. I don't know why. But, you know, there's like a rivalry there, which is fun. And I think, you know, in the Suit of Wands, I don't think I think people forget that Wands can be as much about relationships as the Cups can. And certainly about sex. So here's the 6. So, you know, it's fun. I love the 7 of Wands. You know, you'll see scars in this deck, which I think is really cool. And I think that's another thing, again, that you know, we're so trained, certainly here in the United States, to hide our bodies, to be ashamed of our bodies, you know, and certainly the older we get, the more we are encouraged to disappear and be uglier. And in a weird way, like, I was just thinking today, you know, like, it took me like 40 years plus to realize that I was hot, you know what I mean? And I had a moment recently where I was like, oh, but now it's just all downhill. And then I thought, well, no, maybe it's not. Like, maybe, you know what I mean? Like, what an ageist thing to think, you know what I mean? Like, it's really interesting. I love this 8 of Wands because I love turtles, and the mermaid, and just, you know, it doesn't scream 8 of Wands to me, but, like, I love it anyway. This 9 of Wands is so badass. And then this 10 of Wands is another one that it's like weirdly goes from sort of the 9, which is this like transcendent sort of phoenix moment, to like getting on a treadmill, which, like, look, if you want to sustain your energy and get to the 10 of Wands, you're going to need to do some cardio, which I am remiss and have been remiss in doing. I get it. It's not my favorite 10 of Wands ever. What I like about it so much is that it goes from this sort of like transcendent fire moment to something like so eminently practical and day to day. You know, and if you know me, you know I'm a fairly pragmatic reader. So, it just, for me, lacks a little theater. But again, I think it's cool. The Page of Wands. The Knight. This card looks like Ileana Douglas to me. Just throwing it out there. I love this Queen of Wands. And I love this King of Wands. And now we get into Cups. So we have the 2 of Cups. Again, of course I'm going to like this. This actually, the guy on the left reminds me of a teacher of mine. Looks-wise. From grad school. 3 of Cups. The 4 of Cups. This one I was a little sort of like, oh, okay. Shutting out the light, shutting out the world, trying to sleep. There's a anxiety in this card. There's a 5-ness to this 4 for me that is interesting. And then the 5 of Cups. The 6. The 7. It's interesting, with the Suit of Cups in this case, this is the suit that I have the hardest time looking at and immediately recognizing them as the suit. Like, cups are actually not that active a part of the images in as large a way as, you know, like there's none here. And in the other suits, they're a little more integrated into the situation. So luckily it says cups on it. I'd be apt to misread it otherwise. The 9 of Cups. Here it really kind of takes the idea of the wish card into practice and sort of makes this sort of a genie coming out of a teapot. Again, I don't love that so much, but it's fine. And again, I'm pointing out the things that I'm not wild about because I really like everything else. And then we here have the Ten of Cups, the Page of Cups. Again, like bodies. Like, hello. The Knight. I really like this one. Usually, like, a unicorn card is, like, not my card. But, like, the Rider is so fierce. The Queen of Cups. And the King of Cups, which I also really enjoy. And so now we get into the Ace of Swords. Two of Swords. Three. This to me is a more interesting Three of Swords than most Rider-Waite-Smith Three of Swords are. So, I like that. Again, scars, you know, Four of Swords. It's an interesting thing for the Four of Swords. But I think, you know, again, really just sort of like looking at our bodies as they age, as they have been through things, I think, as they've healed and heal. And that's sort of one of the things mentioned in this particular card in the little book. The guidebook doesn't say a whole lot about every card. It's roughly, you know, 100 words, I would wager, if that. But, you know, it's just it's a good little intro. We love the Five of Swords and his boxers, and well, in their boxers, they're wearing a sports bra too. Six of Swords, the sort of swan boat is really lovely. This is another one I think that the creator made into a pouch that you can order through their website. Seven of Swords, this is another one I don't love so much. Like, it just gives me a little sort of Hamburglar moment, and I don't love that. But, you know, it's fine. Eight of Swords is interesting. It's I don't quite get it, but... And then the Nine of Swords. And then the 10, which is very, like... Ugh, you know, it's like, no thank you, this is terrifying. And then we have the Page of Swords. Love that. Knight. And then the Queen and the King are both sort of podcasting. And then we get into Pentacles. Pentacles is often my favorite suit in deck because I really love this too. Suit with 3. A little more generational here than we usually see. Again, a 4-pet, like, it's so funny, it's so weird. Like, we go from these, like, sort of very, very daily things to these very sort of, like, transcendent things to these very kind of literal things. So this is another one I can't say I love. It's a little, literal in a way. But again, it's... I'm just sort of being nitpicky because that's what a review is all about. At least in my case. This Five of Pentacles is kind of devastating. And it's like it's hard for me to place the Waite-Smith Five of Pentacles even in my mind after... Oh, right, I remember it now. Again, it's more interesting to me than the Waite-Smith. Just looking what their tag says, and I can't... Oh, it says men's on the tag. This is a little shirt tag. Six of Pentacles. This one takes a minute because this reads a little more Seven of Pentacles until you sort of recognize what's potentially a reciprocity in the Waite-Smith 6. And then this doesn't really feel like the Seven of Pentacles in the Waite-Smith really at all. But what, you know, it's doing when you look at it closely is it's sort of looking at, you know, reaping what you've sown, that sort of nest egg kind of situation. The 8, the 9, the 10, and then we get the Page. The Knight. The Queen. And the King. So there it is. So let me just shuffle it for you, because like I said, I haven't shuffled. I've only looked at it and sort of explored the digital guidebook. So you've felt this cardstock before, but I can't think of a deck off the top of my head to compare it to. It's matte. Ooh, actually, I thought it was going to be stiff, but it's not. It's got a real nice bend. That was a delightful surprise. Yeah, that's nice and flexy, and it shuffles really... I mean, wow. I was not expecting this to be able to be print shuffled by someone like me with small hands. But it is actually shockingly bendy, which I'm all for. And it doesn't get clumpy and sticky, which I was worried it would. When I first opened it, I thought, oh no, it's that cardstock, but it's clearly not. So I'll just lace them out. So I really like this a lot, and even in the places where I'm not as wild about the cards as I might be, like I appreciate the chance it's taking. I appreciate the thoughtfulness of trying something new or reinterpreting or reimagining sort of a stale image, you know, in a way that is fresh and through the eyes of someone who isn't 22 or even in my age. You know what I mean? This is through the eyes of someone who has lived longer than I have and is interpreting the tarot and interpreting the metaphors of the deck in a different way, a different experience. So I really like it a lot, and I think that the color palette is. I don't know why I'm collecting it because I'm finishing up this video. It's so rich, it's so vibrant, it's so deep. Really, just sort of gorgeous blues and greens. Just gorge. And then this cardstock, which I was not expecting to be so deliciously shuffleable, but it is, my friends. So that is the Hand Me That Pencil Tarot, which I think is just a big success by Did I call it the Hand Me That Pencil Tarot? It's the Elder Stories Tarot by Hand Me That Pencil, which I think is a great success. And I will try to remember to leave the artist's website below. And I just want to come back to the like rich, gorgeous green of the bags. Green's my favorite color. So there we have it. Be well, be good, take care.